For all of the support it's received throughout its lifespan, the OG of Yu-Gi-Oh! Can't put it all together. Or in this case, it did, but then it went nowhere. So before you guys burn us at the stake, grab your Hogwarts wand, set hexes on us, and tell us to get good with everyone's favorite bad deck, watch this video and see why Dark Magician failed severely in the TCG. To start off, we'll review the cards that came out in 2014 and up, the viable support that was actually used for the Dark Magician. There's no need to look back on anything before then, as nothing before 2014 for Dark Magician was viable. No one was gambling on Time Wizard to make Dark Sage in any top tournament. Skilled Dark Magician and spell counter mechanics was awful back in the days. Dark Eradicator Warlock wasn't worth the structure deck it was built in, and no one was going out of the way to play Dark Magician just to equip magic formula to it. The last thing anyone does in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is read, so why would you force your monster to do it? The only way any Dark Magician saw play was if its name was Dark Magician of Chaos and enabled FTKs. Some cards did see some sort of testing, if any play at all, when the new Dark Magician support came out, like Thousand Knives, Dark Magic Attack, and everyone's top waifu, Dark Magician Girl. These cards would pop up occasionally, as you'll see throughout the video. The quest to make Dark Magician top tier started with Dragons of Legend series. Dark Magician received a new fusion monster called Amulet Dragon, a level 8 dragon that required a Dark Magician and a dragon monster, or just using the card released with it in Dragon of Legends, the Eye of Timaeus, to special summon it. When it's special summoned, you can remove any amount of spells in any graveyards to have it gain 100 attack for each of them. When this monster is destroyed, you can target a spellcaster in your grave and special summon it. The Eye of Timaeus was a normal spell card that targeted one Dark Magician monster you control and lets you fusion summon one fusion monster from your deck that lists the monster on the field as a fusion material, using it as the fusion material. The Eye of Timaeus was actually a beast of a card. With just one Dark Magician, you had access to almost Dark Magician monster-based fusions, which included cards like Dark Paladin and Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, if you also ran Dark Magician Girl as well. Amulet Dragon, though, had a mid effect. It also didn't help that by around 2014, the meta flowed with more heavy trap format decks like Hat floating around. It's not like Dark Magician players had much to build Dark Magician with anyway. It was just 2 cards and the dumpster fire of old spells and monsters they had before 2014. The heartbreaking part is that Eye of Timaeus didn't see play, and it's mainly for awful specific wording on one card that was given alongside the Dark Magician support in the Dark Illusion in August 2016. But before Dark Illusion, Konami released an Xyz that solidified their attempt to make Yugi's top partner viable. Ebon Illusion Magician was a rank 7 spellcaster Xyz with 2500 attack and 2100 defense. It required 2 level 7 monsters, but could also be summoned by using a rank 6 spellcaster Xyz monsters as material. Once per turn, you can detach an Xyz to special summon a normal spellcaster from your hand or deck. And if a normal spellcaster monster declared an attack, you can target one card your opponent controls and banish it. This card was originally released in 2014 as a Shonen Jump promotion card, but was then introduced into the Shining Victory Special Edition boxes. The rank 6 condition was supposed to be supplemented by using Magi Magician Girl as the option, but that card was never released due to the wishes of Kazuki Takahashi not wanting the card to be edited for the TCG release, and neither did we. Nonetheless, we had another option to summon Ebon Illusion Magician thanks to Norito the Moral Leader, being another rank 6 Xyz monster available in the TCG, and the effect that was just as good as Magigal, as Norito detached materials to negate the activation of your opponent's spell and trap cards. So the Dark Magician fan club had something to look forward to, having 2 boss monsters look forward to using, 3 if your deck included Dark Paladin. However, as stated before, thanks to some terrible wording, this would come back to bite the deck in the Dark Illusion. The Dark Illusion set gave Dark Magician main deck searchers and extenders that had Dark Magician players thankful for not needing to play Dark Magic Curtain. Magician's Rod was a level 3 spellcaster that on normal summon allowed you to add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the Dark Magician card in its card text. When this card is in your grave during your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap, you contribute 1 spellcaster monster to the side of the field and add this card back to your hand. Magician Robes lets you special summon a Dark Magician from your deck by discarding a spell or trap on your opponent's turn. Also, during your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap or card effect, you can special summon this card from your grave but banish it when it leaves the field. Rod still sees play today as it searches for any Dark Magician support. Well, almost any. This is where the Eye of Timaeus got the short end of the wand. Rod couldn't search for Eye of Timaeus because Eye of Timaeus listed a Dark Magician monster and not the card called Dark Magician. That one little detail made it difficult to play Eye of Timaeus in the deck, as you'd likely have to draw into the spell since you couldn't search it with Rod. This really hindered making Amulet Dragon or Dark Paladin. To round out the main deck monsters, Magician of Dark Illusion was a level 7 Dark Spellcaster. It was treated as Dark Magician on the field, and once per turn, you could activate each of its effects. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap effect, you could special summon this card from your hand. If you activate a spell, trap, or effect, you could target Dark Magician in your grave and special summon it, but you can only use this effect once while it's face up on the field. To make Dark Magician suitable for the Xyz format, Konami made sure Dark Magician could fit in by giving the deck an Xyz monster. Ebon High Magician was a rank 7 spellcaster with 2300 attack and 2500 defense, that required 2 level 7 spellcasters as its materials. While it had materials, you could activate a quick play spell or trap card from your hand by detaching Xyz material from this card during activation. If it's destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, you could special summon a Dark spellcaster from your deck or hand, then pop 1 card on the field. Dark Magical Circle was one of the Dark Magician's newest spell cards. That, on activation, lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, to select one Dark Magician, or spell a trap that lists the Dark Magician in it to your hand, while the rest go back to the top of your deck in any order. Also, once per turn, when a Dark Magician is special summoned, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and banish it. Dark Magic Expanded was a quick play spell card that you can apply any number of effects based on how many Dark Magicians or Dark Magician girls are on the field or in the graveyard. If 1, a Dark spellcaster gains 1000 attack until the end of the turn. 2 or more made your opponent unable to respond to your activated spell and trap cards or effects, and card effects can't destroy your spell and trap cards. If 3 or more, all of your Dark spellcaster monsters are unaffected by opponent's card effects until the end of the turn. Illusion Magic was a quick play spell that lets you tribute a spellcaster to add up to 2 Dark Magicians from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And finally, Magician's Navigation wraps up the Dark Illusion support. This trap lets you special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand, and then 1 level 7 or lower spellcaster monster from your deck. Also, if you control Dark Magician, except on the turn this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish from your grave to target 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. The first wave of Dark Magician support was impressive. Magician's Rod was a solid searcher outside of the blunder made with the Eye of Timaeus. The Dark Magic Circle combined with Magician's Navigation or Magician's Robe was an excellent way to interrupt your opponent's plays by bringing a Dark Magician to the field during your opponent's turn to activate Circle's effect to banish a card on the field. However, it still had a bit of flaws. Circle's Search effect was a complete RNG game, and it only worked if a card with Dark Magician in its text was in the top 3 cards of your deck. It didn't really allow you to dig through your deck, and if you whiffed, you'd gain nothing from playing it. It doesn't help that both of Circle's effects were also hard once per turns, so seeing multiple of these cards could become a brick. To make this even more problematic, the deck was too slow to get into their boss monster. Though the deck had a plethora of options to work during your opponent's turn, it was difficult going into your boss monster with the Eye of Timaeus being unsearchable and Magician of Dark Illusion almost being unsummonable on your turn for Xyz plays. Dark Magician was clearly favored as a control deck with a few flaws. Palladium Oracle Mahad and Palladium Oracle Mana debuted in the Dark Side of Dimensions movie pack. Mahad could be special summoned if you drew it. When it battles a dark monster, its attack is doubled during the damage step. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Mana can be special summoned if your opponent activates a card effect that targets 1 spellcaster you control. It prevents your level 7 or higher spellcaster from being destroyed by card effects, and if it's destroyed by battle or card effects, special summon a Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard. While both cards help summon Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, their summoning conditions were too specific to be consistent. Mahad was a dead card in opening hands and missed timing if drawn through card effects like Allure of Darkness or Sacred Sword of 7 Stars. It had a more likely chance of clogging your hand than actually being helpful. Mana's effects required spellcasters to be targeted and only 1, and it was another case of a card needing your opponent to interact with yours to be playable. It wasn't like it stopped whatever targeted your monster to not resolve either. You'd just be playing a card that could possibly net you a Dark Magician Girl, which the deck didn't revolve around. The weirdest part about the Dark Side Dimension movie pack was that the card that helped Dark Magician the most was Dark Magic Veil, an indirect spell card that lets you pay 1000 life points to special summon a Dark spellcaster from your hand or graveyard. They might as well just put Dark Magician on its name, as this card has mostly seen play in just this archetype. In Legendary decks too, the deck would receive one of its most well-known trap cards. Eternal Soul and Dark Burning Magic Attack donned the title as support to help Dark Magician. Eternal Soul was the main star out of the two. This continuous trap card prevented every Dark Magician in your monster zone from being unaffected by your opponent's card effects. Its effect lets you special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or grave, or add Thousand Knives or Dark Magic Attack from your deck to your hand. If you think this card sounds too good, that's because we've yet to tell you what happens if this card is removed from the field, where all monsters on your side of the field are destroyed as well. One of the best cards printed for the archetype is also its worst enemy. This card is a double-edged sword that absolutely is mandatory to run in the deck even to this day. Dark Burning Magic Attack was a new quick play spell that can destroy all cards your opponent controls if you controlled monsters whose original names are Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. While this card was devastating with the ability to completely board wipe your opponent's field, the requirements made it difficult and strict. Outside of Magician's Navigation, it was difficult to get both cards on the field simultaneously and play another Brick and Dark Magician Girl. Also, the requirements made Magician of Dark Illusion even more worthless to play, as the card requires a monster whose original name is Dark Magician. So overall, the archetype gained one of its best and worst cards and a restrictive board wipe that made you play extra cards and activate it. While we could end the video here, as you can see why this game plan failed, since Dark Magician players love pain, we here at TheDuelLogs will happily comply, giving you a good cry as the story of mediocrity continues for Dark Magician in structure deck Yu-Gi Moto. In the Yu-Gi based structure deck, Dark Magic Inheritance was the newest card for the deck. When this quick play spell is played, you banish 2 spell cards from your graveyard, then add a spell or trap card that specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your deck to your hand. Still no Eye of Timaeus search in sight, but a card that can add a piece of your choice from your deck to your hand was always a welcome addition. Though, the deck didn't warrant running this card because Rod did the same thing without needing a cost to activate. So the deck had a lot of search power for its spells and traps. But what about the Dark Magician itself? There wasn't any way to get a Dark Magician quick enough if you didn't have it. Yes, there was draw power like Allure and Pot of Desires and Circle at the time, but nothing that gets you Dark Magician immediately or consistently to your hand. Isn't it a good time to address this issue? It seems that Konami agreed and addressed it by making a Shonen Jump promotional card in 2017. What better way to get a card for your deck than being forced into a subscription? Apprentice Illusion Magician was a level 6 spellcaster with 2000 attack and 1700 defense. You can discard a card from your hand to special summon her from your hand, and when she's normal or special, you can add a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. During either player's turn in the damage calculation, if a Dark Spellcaster monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to boost that monster's attack by 2000. To say Apprentice Illusion Magician was a godsend to the archetype at this time was an understatement. The deck finally had a way to get to the star of the show, all while not losing their ability to still play Rod alongside Apprentice Illusion due to Apprentice's special summoning effect. Also, the attack boost effect helped your monsters get over monsters that tower over Dark Magician's attack power, like the Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, which was a tough card for the deck to out since Magic Circle was not effective to max being untargetable, and its attack power standing at a whopping 4000. Now, to address the last elephant in the room, how would you protect your back row with cards from getting blasted into the Shadow Realm? Dark Magician the Dragon Knight answered that question in the Legend Dragon decks. Its materials were Dark Magician and 1 Dragon monster. It's treated as Dark Magician while face up on the field, and while it's on the field, your opponent can't target your spell or cards with trap effects and can't destroy your spell or trap cards you control. Finally, Dark Magician players could live without fear of the Eternal Soul being destroyed and losing their board. With the card also being treated as Dark Magician on the field or in the graveyard as well, Eternal Soul could grant immunity from card effects and special summon if your opponent happened to have a way to out it. There's just one minor issue that Konami forgot while making this card. How are players supposed to make it? There was no dragon support that supplemented Dark Magicians without having a chance of being another brick, and we still had the ongoing issue of Eye of Timaeus not being searchable. To make this card meant more bricks to play in an already strict and struggling engine. To make things even worse, the rise of hand traps began to sweep through the TCG, with Ash Blossom and Joy Spring being introduced in the TCG of 2017, and Effect Veiler still being prominent in TCG. Dark Magician wasn't a deck made to go through multiple hand traps, let alone one of any choice. With the meta getting faster and decks like Zodiac and Invoke having faster effects and room to run other engines to make the deck more versatile, Dark Magician was utterly left in the dust, making it completely unable to compete with the meta. More importantly, it was still hard to summon Dark Magician on the first turn without cards like Dark Magic Veil at your disposal. However, by the time Dual Power came along in 2019, Dark Magician would have options to work for boss monsters. Dual Power really gave Dark Magicians, well, dual power, as it gave them a Ritual monster, a new fusion, and 2 new spell cards to help facilitate Dark Magician Girl into your deck. Dark Cavalry was a level 8 fusion monster which required Dark Magician and a Warrior monster to be made. Cavalry gained 100 attack for each spell and trap card on the field and in the graveyard, inflict piercing damage, and when a card or effect targeted a card on the field, you could discard 1 card from your hand to negate the effect and destroy the card. Magician of Chaos was a level 7 ritual needing Chaos form to be summoned. It's treated as Dark Magician while on the field or in the graveyard, and if a spell or trap card effect is activated, you can pop 1 card in the field once per turn. If it's destroyed, special summon a Blackluster Soldier or Chaos monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. Bond between Teacher and Student is a spell card that special summons Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard if you control a Dark Magician. Then you can set either a Dark Magic attack, Dark Burning Magic, Dark Burning attack, or Dark Magic Twin Burst directly from your deck. Speaking of the newest style of Dark Magical attacks, Dark Magical Twin Burst was the newest spell from Dual Power. Target one Dark Magician you control, and then it'll gain attack equal to the number of Dark Magician girls in the field or your graveyard until the end of your turn. So much variety was given to the archetype. What made it better was that even though the archetype couldn't go to Eye of Timaeus, they did get to Polymerization and Fusion Substitute due to Keeper of Dragon Magic. Players also would tech in Magical Ice Fusion to fuse resources from your graveyard to get extra deck monsters onto the field. Both these cards helped make Amulet Dragon and Dark Magician the Dragon Knight much more accessible, thanks to being a Dragon type. However, that didn't help with Cavalry because Cavalry needed a Warrior type monster as a requirement. The deck already had limited space and couldn't afford to run another brick. That would also be this deck's major issue as more support came along. Specific cards began to clash with the deck and didn't synergize mechanics-wise. If you wanted to run Magician of Chaos, you can't use Dark Burning Magic because it needs a card whose original name is Dark Magician. Need to run Dark Burning Magic, then say goodbye to Magician of Chaos as you'd need to tech in room for Bond and Dark Magician Girl, and less room for ritual powers like Perpetual Rites and Chaos Max. There was just little to no room to run all three forms of the deck, and if you did, there would be almost no way to get all three win mechanics together on the field. That's also not including the fact that by 2019, hand traps were in full effect, completely stopping decks that couldn't play through multiple ones. Dark Magician was, at this point, a first turn or bust deck that couldn't run all the support given without conflicting, and was, at this point, too slow. It really needed something that could help it get to the original Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl while being able to keep up with the meta that establishes boards in the blink of an eye. That card was created in Legendary Duelist Magical Hero. Magician Souls was a level 1 spellcaster. You could send up to 2 spell or trap cards from your side of the field or hand to the graveyard to draw that many cards. And once per turn, you could send a level 6 or higher spellcaster from your deck to the graveyard to either special summon this card from your hand, or special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. There's a reason why this card is one of the best cards in the game to this date. It's a free body, an extender that helps you get rid of dead spells and trap cards like old magical circles on your field, and could get you a free Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl based on what your needs are for your plays. This card made Dark Magicians shoot to the mountaintop. Oh, sorry, that was a typo. We meant Spirals and Eldritch. Basically, any deck that can run Magician Souls ran Magician Souls due to its sound effects, being an extender for Link and single plays, and even a graveyard setup for spells and traps that worked better in the grave. In fact, you could say it was one of the sole reasons that Spiral made another meta comeback, as combined with Spiral Master Plan by sending it to the grave to either use Quick Fix to fetch Big Red to bring back Master Plan, or use Magician's Effect to send the spells and traps to the grave to draw 2 cards, and then use their graveyard effects of rescues to bring back Master Plan. No matter how you chose to do it, you could do no wrong. 2 things can be taken away from Souls. 1 is Master Plan did nothing wrong. 2 is that Magician Souls is a phenomenal card. It continues to be one of the most consistent engines in the game. Though it's really good in the archetype it was built for, it was even better in actual competitive Yu-Gi-Oh decks. Dark Magician support still got better from there. The Dark Magicians was a fusion monster requiring a Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, or Spellcaster monster. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you can draw 1 card. And if it's a spell or trap card, you can set it face down your side of the field and activate it that turn. When the Dark Magicians leaves the field, you get to special summon a Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard. This was a great fusion for this archetype. No matter what spell or trap card your opponent decides to activate, you get a +1 and possibly a new card to activate if you draw a Quick Play or a trap card. Plus, you get 2 free bodies if this card is destroyed to make up for the materials used for the fusion summon. The monster out of the set boosted the Ultimate Wizard, but the spell and trap card support did wonders for them. Let's start with Soul Servant. This is a quick play spell card that lets you place 1 card from your hand, deck, or graveyard that's Dark Magician, or specifically list Dark Magician on top of your deck, and during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to draw cards equal to the number of Palladia monsters, Dark Magicians, or Dark Magician Girls with different names on your field or in your graveyard. Secrets of Dark Magic was another quick play that lets you activate 1 of these effects. Either fusion summon 1 fusion monster from extra deck using monsters from your hand and or field, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl as a fusion material, or ritual summon 1 ritual monster by tributing monsters, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, whose levels equal or exceed the ritual monsters. Finally, to round out the Legendary Hero support, Magician's Combination was their continuous trap card that can negate the activation of an opponent's card or effect by tributing a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, then special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl with a different name from the monster tributed from your hand or graveyard. If this card is destroyed or face up on the field, you can pop a card on the field. It's safe to say this is the best support for this archetype to date. In one set, they received one of the best engines in the game, a new fusion monster that lets you net pluses, a chainable spell card that organizes your decks and gives you draw powers that you can use on the same turn that you play it, a ritual and fusion spell all in one, and a negation. subsequently becoming a part of the staples Magician's Triangle play, an end board consisting of Magician's Circle, Combination, and Eternal Soul, plus one Dark Magician fusion monster, mostly being Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. Eternal Soul protects Dragon Knight, and Dragon Knight protects your back row with a special summoning and banish and a negate. So how do you lose with all this support? How do you fail in a meta as the franchise poster boy with all of this at your disposal? As much as your end board sounded great, it was inconsistent, as just trying to get to the setup cost so many resources. Even then, it was possible that you wouldn't get a full end board due to needing specific pieces. Just because you have a Magician's Souls and Magical Circle, you might still miss a piece due to whiffing on the circle or not having Rod. Maybe you don't have a bond between teacher and student and you don't get your Dark Magician Girl for combination. Or you just brick due to drawing Dark Magician, who became a Garnet in his own deck the more support came out. Garnets and hard ones per turn cards had players seething, looking at multiple copies of certain cards like Circle or Eternal Soul. It also made it hard to run non-engine cards as your engine suffered from not seeing your combo pieces. So even though it can run cards like Secret Village of Spellcasters or Skill Drain, you'll clog up your regular end board more than help it. Let's not forget that Eternal Soul was still a massive liability on the field, even with Dragon Knight being in your arsenal, as the dragon options you had were not that searchable. It didn't help that the end board wasn't as threatening as it sounds, as by this point, almost any deck in the format can play through one negation and a card banishment. This would be the only combo this archetype would be known for years. This style would end up being dated and unable to hold up in the format. The deck was bound for Master Duel, casual play, and being amazing in Duel Links. At most, the impact it made on the meta was to give better decks Magician's Soul. However, Dark Magician would manage to impact the metagame again with another card that I'm sure everybody is tired of hearing about. Tin of Memories gave us one of the most powerful cards in the current game, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. It takes a Dark Magician and a Red Eyes Black Dragon or Dragon Effect monster to make. Comes with 3000 attack, 2500 defense. And if you don't know what this card does by now, let's give you the skinny of it. It can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. It can negate a card or effect by discarding one card and destroyed it, and giving it a 1000 attack boost permanently. It can pop monsters on the field to inflict burn damage equal to the monster's original attack, and you can use that destruction effect up to the number of times as its fusion materials, which were normal monsters. Strength and Unity was their newest continuous spell card. Whenever you ritual summon or fusion summon using Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can target one card your opponent controls or in the graveyard and banish it. You can also send this face-up card from your field to the graveyard to target a level 7 or higher normal monster in your grave and add it to your hand or shuffle into your deck. Destined Rivals was their newest trap card that negated the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent's out of the field into the end of the turn if you controlled a Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon. Imagine having an archetype with Magician's Souls and Dragoon in a deck specifically made for your deck, and your deck is still not a top deck in the TCG. Dragoon was remarkable in its archetype, and, like Souls, was way better in every other archetype that could make it. It was made even more runnable thanks to the degeneracy of Predaplant Verte Anaconda. This link too was easy to make with its requirements just being any to effect monsters, and you can pay 2000 life points to send a poly or a fusion spell from your deck to the grave to have Anaconda become that card's effect. So after players finish their end board, all they do is link it to Anaconda, send a copy of Red Eyes Fusion to the grave, and send their 2 normal monster Garnets from their deck to the graveyard to get Dragoon on the field. Why make a big case out of this when Dark Magician could do it too? Simple. Other decks just made better and more threatening end boards with Dragoon. The deck still had the issues of using so many resources for setup that it was hard to make a complete end board and have Dragoon on it. Second, other decks had more consistency, making Dragoon without bricking, unlike Dark Magician, who had to incorporate room to run the other brick in their engine while battling the flurry of hand traps running rampant in 2020. Lastly, Dragoon is so good that it could be run in a deck solely based on Dragoon. Why go through all the hassle and strict deck building when you can just cut the middleman? Red Eyes Fusion was an easy Dragoon turn 1 insearchable thanks to Red Eyes Insight. If it was Ash, you could simply go the Anaconda route as planned and still get to Dragoon while setting up the back row. Strength and Unity never saw play due to its condition, and Destined Rivals was a simple one-up with a great payoff for its effect requirements, and an excellent target for Soul Servant to pop on top of the deck or grab Magician Circles or the Dark Magician's draw effect. All you have to do is ensure your Dark Magician is on the field. We have their newest support appear in the Tin of Ancients battles to continue with Dark Magician's Reign of Sadness. Magician's Salvation was a field spell that, on activation, lets you set an Eternal Soul directly from your deck. And if you normal summon or special summon a Dark Magician, a Dark Magician Girl, you can then target that monster to special summon a Dark Magician Girl with a different name than that monster targeted from your graveyard. The card gave players another way to go into Eternal Soul, and could get your magical duo if you summoned either of them to the field. Salvation made it easy for you to set up fetching 1/3 of the back row for the Magician's Triangle, and help with the requirements to make the Dark Magicians or set up the Dark Burning Magic. However, with this added to the deck, it becomes another game of getting all the resources again. Another piece meant another resource needed for an already cloggy and restrictive setup that already had a significant amount of hard once per turn spells and traps, and the ongoing issues of fetching all your pieces to get your full end board that was becoming more and more dated with each format. And it seemed that Konami wasn't hell-bent on fixing it. At least they kept giving you shiny cards like ones in the Battle of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos was a level 7 ritual monster that could be ritual summoned with Chaos form. You can reveal this card from your hand to add a Dark Magician or a non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, then return one card from your hand to the top of your deck. Also, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can return this card to your hand, special summon a Dark Magician from your graveyard, and if you do, negate the activation of that monster. Magikuribo was a level 1 Fiend monster that lets you special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your deck or graveyard by sending this card from your hand to the graveyard during the main phase or battle phase. If a face-up spellcaster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand. Timaeus, the United Dragon, was a level 8 light dragon monster that lets you send one spellcaster or spell trap card that mentions Dark Magician on the field in your hand to the graveyard to special summon it from your hand. During the main phase, you can fusion summon using monsters from your hand or field as materials, including a spellcaster monster. Finally, Master of Chaos was a level 8 warrior fusion monster, needing a Dark Magician or a Chaos or Blackluster Soldier monster. If it's fusion summoned, you can target a light or dark monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can tribute a light or dark monster on your side of the field to banish all cards your opponent controls. And if this fusion summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target a spell in your grave and add it to your hand. Two cards stood out from the bunch that screamed solid support. Timaeus was a viable built-in dragon monster that helped make the Archetypes' life easier by making fusion monsters with fewer steps. Illusion of Chaos was a monster that could finally add Dark Magician or Dark Magician specific monsters from your deck to your hand without a normal summon, which the deck severely lacked. It was a great way to get the monsters needed for a successful combo, including your new Timaeus card. It was also searchable with Preparation of Rites, giving you an easy access to Illusion of Chaos and thinning your deck in the process. Nothing abusable here, except it was. Illusion of Chaos searching out monsters that include Dark Magician in their attacks meant you could get Magician's Souls, which was still a popular engine outside of Dark Magicians that other decks enjoyed using. All Illusion of Chaos did was make it easier to get Souls and made Souls easier to summon since you can just pull Illusion back on top of your deck after searching for Souls. Then use Souls as an Illusion from the top of your deck to the graveyard to special summon it. Add the aforementioned Preparation and you get a free 7 to 8 card engine that nets you an extra body for plays and a free draw engine. As for Dark Magician, they got more feasible cards, though the cloggy, inconsistent engine that set up incomplete boards lost a draw on Lockbird, which didn't fix its issues. The rest of 2022 didn't really get any good direct support. Chronicle Magician was released from Ghost from the Past Second Haunting, but the card was largely irrelevant, as the deck didn't benefit from giving an attack boost to Dark Magician that wouldn't be on the field before being used for whatever action I play. What did give the deck some life was the new Bestial monsters. They were dark and light dragon type monsters, with the level 6 Bestials being able to remove light or dark monsters on either player's graveyard to special summon themselves from the hand. Their special summon effects also became quick effects if your opponent had a monster on their side of the field, making them pseudo hand traps if going second. With these cards, Dark Magicians could have cards that can establish a board presence, become a material for link and fusion plays, and interrupt your opponent's graveyard plays. They're great counters to Tearlaments in 2022, which meant everyone was running Bestials, as Tearlaments were a force in 2022. But that also became an issue to your archetype, as most of your monsters were dark monsters, including the Dark Magician. Placing any critical piece you needed in the graveyard was risky in the Tearlaments format, as Bestial cards would just remove your Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl to stop your plays. Tearlaments had the Ishizu cards that could mill or return cards from the graveyard to the deck to stop you from having access to your garnets. With this competition, even with Bestials on your side, Dark Magician playstyle just wasn't good, and the investments weren't worth the reward. If Dark Magician saw any play, it was because it and Dragoon were run in branded, as making Dragoon was easy thanks to the effect of Fallen of Albaz. If Dark Magician continued to get support, it needed a card to help them make an entire board, not use so many resources, and help with their outdated and expired playstyle. Hopefully, they'll print that card soon. Here's a card not seen play from Battles of Legend, Monstrous Revenge. Dark Magician, the Knight of Dragon Magic, was a level 8 dragon fusion. It inflicted piercing damage, burned your opponent for damage equal to the attack of the monster destroyed by battle with this card, and when this monster is destroyed, you can special summon both Dark Magician and Gaia the Dragon Champion from your hand, deck, extra deck, or graveyard. Exactly what the archetype needed, piercing damage and Gaia the Dragon Champion. This card was slotted into decks at 0 copies. So far, this is the note that Dark Magician sadly sinks on. Now, before you grab your pitchforks, wands, deck boxes, and platinum rarity Dark Magician, We must clarify how this deck is a fail and how it slid into failed cards and mechanics. It's not just about if the cards mesh well together. It's not about the impact each solo card has in the meta like Souls, Dragoon, or Illusion of Chaos. It's not about the rare times it topped a regional or how many times Team Samurai X or Matchy uploads an undefeated deck on their channel, and it's damn well not about if it's fun. We're talking about when it all comes down to the amount of support the deck has been given and the chance of competing with the meta. Did it do great as a deck that should be praised? The answer is no. The investment, time, and definitely money isn't worth putting into a deck that hasn't etched out the results we were expecting it to give. The end board is always one piece away, even with a good hand. Its strong engine does way more work in other meta combo decks, and with all that said and done, even if you get a solid board, Dark Magician boards at the end of it all are easier to play through or breakable depending on the monsters brought out. It also was an abysmal going second deck, having trouble going through multiple negates, and even on its turn had problems going through hand traps, especially Drone Lockbird or Ash Blossom. Finally, the engine was so strict that even Dark Magician decks ran a lower amount of Dark Magician cards to run supplementary engines inside their deck. The Magic Triangle deck takes a back seat if you incorporate other engines like Branded Package because it's more substantial than a basic lineup of Dark Magician cards. The amount of support that has been given repeatedly proves that it's quality over quantity, especially in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So the tough to swallow pill has been handed on a Dark Magician. If you like this deck, then by all means, play it. Dark Magician has been the poster boy for our child in the face of Yu-Gi-Oh! Who wouldn't want it to succeed? It needs a little bit more help to dig out of the Shadow Realm and be the dominant force we've seen on our TV screens for many years. Hopefully, this doesn't upset all of you too much either. It's not like we have more hot takes coming in the future, right?